What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we have Alabama State's round number 6, and on the left we have James Miller playing his Night March deck. But the interesting thing to note about his deck is he actually doesn't play 3 Shamans like we usually see, or 4. He actually only plays the 2 Shamans and the 1 Drachi with the Stardust, and I guess it's going to help out against Side Stows and or Giratina. Stardust, discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon, and if you do, they cannot hurt this Drachi during your opponent's next turn, which is pretty great. Everything else is pretty standard. Oh, the Psychic Energy for the Joltik, for the Drachi, it's definitely, I think he should play, like, Lightning Energies. I mean, I'm trying to figure which one's better. You could Ram for 10, or you can Joltik, you can Null for 10. I'm not I guess ramming for 10 does more damage, so I guess, it has more HP, so Pokeboo probably the better option. I guess Psychic does make more sense. I was thinking Lightning, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess Psychic does work. I forgot that it does need a Psychic Energies first for the Ram attack, but, so you can play it for the Ram, or most likely for the Stardust with the Drachi, if you're in the Giratina lock, which could help a lot. And he also does play 4 Sycamore. Usually list only play 2, but he see 2 or 3, but he's playing 4. He's making sure he is not going to lose to Sidestone or Giratina. But if you give me a second, we'll see the player on the right and see what they're playing. Alright, on the right we have BJ playing his Night March deck, so it is going to be a Night March mirror match. The key things to note is that BJ does not play the Drachi. He does play another Shaman, he does play 3 Sycamore like the 4, and instead of 4 Acrobike like James plays, he does play a Judge and a Zerosic, and he does play a Buddy Buddy Rescue and an Escape Rope as well. So we'll see what's going to happen. It is just a straight Night March mirror match, no real text besides the, I guess, the Psychic Energy / Jirachi, and we'll see if that makes an effect on the game at all or not. We're going to see what happens here in a second, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I know Night March mirror match probably not that exciting, but let's see what happens and see who gets home, who takes the game this round. Yep. Alright, let's see what happens. Alright guys, here we go. Alabama State's round number 6. Like I said, on the left you have James playing his Night March deck, and on the right we have BJ playing his Night March deck as well. So it will be a Night March mirror match, but who do you want to see win, James or BJ? I think James is from Florida. I think so. I think he's wearing a Florida shirt, if I remember correctly. I know BJ is from Tennessee. So Tennessee versus Florida. Looks like James does have a Calvin and Hobbes playmat, which is pretty cool. I did like that comic a lot. I guess what you call a comic. But here we see a coin flip, and it looks like heads. I'm not sure who is going first, but BJ does have that Lugia Ho-Oh mat. Which one do you like more, the Calvin and Hobbes? I think it's Calvin and Hobbes versus Lugia Ho-Oh. I guess that's the real question. Which one do you prefer? And there's the handshake, and we see that BJ does start with the Shaman, and James starts with that Joltik. Now BJ will have to somehow get the Shaman out of the active spot. We see an Acrobike discarding a Joltik, because if BJ leaves the Shaman in the active spot, James can take an easy 2 prize cards from the back, or from the start of the game actually. We see a DCE. Looks like a Buddy Buddy Rescue, Ultra Ball, and a Sycamore. So the Sycamore will come down. And does BJ have... Okay, so there's an Ultra Ball, discarding a Sycamore and a Teammates. That's what it kind of... Oh, a Hex Maniac. Thank you, James. I could not tell what that was, but James saw that. We could not see it, and he did show a Hex Maniac. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. We see an Ultra Ball. Going to grab the Pumpkaboo out. And does BJ have a way to retreat this Shaman? We see a Fighting Fury Belt going to the Pumpkaboo. We see a Judge, and going to put both players at 4 cards. Maybe BJ can disrupt James, making it where he doesn't have a good hand. Now, he still gets 5 cards, which is a lot, especially in James's deck, where he plays 4 Acrobike, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Trainer's Mail, 4 Sycamore. So, he has a lot of good odds to draw into something. And let's see, can BJ retreat the Shaman? That's the big question. We see a Battle Presser. This is going to discard probably 2 Lampets and a Sycamore. Looks like he's going to go for 3 Lampets. Maybe he already has a Sycamore in his hand, and that's why he's not going to discard a Sycamore. Because if he didn't have one in his hand, and if he tried to take a VS Seeker, he could only VS Seeker for a Judge, which is not very good. We see a Flowstone, and that could put on the Shaman retreat. And, oh, actually, BJ's going to pass. Okay, so is he on the James turn? And we see a Battle Presser, going to discard 3 Night Marchers, maybe 2 and a supporter card if he does have a VS Seeker. Looks like 3 Lampets will come down. We see another Battle Presser. This is probably going to discard some more Night Marchers. It looks like a Lysander Teammates, and then maybe a Sycamore. Alright, so yeah, those are pretty good cards to discard. Oh, maybe not. Hold on. He's changed his mind. But I mean, he's already taken a knockout on the Shaman. But there's a Sycamore, a teammates, and Night March doing 24 to 60 times to 120, which is a knockout. It looks like he is going to discard a Joltik. Maybe he wants to keep the Lysander in the deck so he can draw into it later on. And he does have VS Seeker and a DC as well. VS Seeker for a Sycamore, going to discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. And does James find another Pokemon is the big question. It does seem like it does. An Acrobike, it looks like a Pumpkaboo and something else. I'm not sure what the other card is. Fighting Fear Belt maybe. Yep, Fighting Fear Belt coming down. We see a Trainer's Mail, maybe grabbing the VS Seeker. And that way he can use teammates next turn, because we know the teammates is in the discard pile. And we're going to see probably a Pumpkaboo come down. We see a Battle Press there. Going to discard 3 more Night Marchers most likely. I don't know who you discard. It looks like he's discarding a Hex Maniac, a Lysander, and a Dimension Valley. Yep, so those 3 are being discarded. James saying, hey, if you put down the Dimension Valley, I'm going to attack regardless next turn. He does have a Pumpkaboo in his hand, which I think he needs to put down. I mean, he needs to put down a Pokemon regardless, but I think attacking with the Pumpkaboo is the better choice. A Pumpkaboo and a Joltik comes down. I don't think it really matters which one. And we'll see a Night March for the knockout. James will take 2 prize cards. And on to BJ's turn, let's see what happens. We see a Dimension Valley come down. We see a Shebe going to draw up to 6 cards. And can BJ find a DCE? I do see an Ultra Ball in his hand and an Escape Rope. Is that a teammates that he's looking at? I can't really... It looks like a teammates in the far right. We see an Ultra Ball. Going to discard a Xerosic and an Escape Rope. And if that's a teammates, he can use teammates to search out that DCE and take a knockout this turn. Looks like he is going to grab another Pumpkaboo for the following turn. And what he could do is use teammates. And with teammates, he can look for a VS Seeker and a DCE. So that way he can get chain his teammates over and over again. He did get 1 card, and let's see what the other card's going to be. Man, it looks like it is a VS Seeker. I imagine the other card is a DCE. I do like this combo with teammates. You could use teammates, get a VS Seeker and a DCE, keep the combo, keep going. And yeah, I think this is where we're going to see what's going to happen. I imagine that's a DC and a teammates in his hand. There's a DCE, a Trainer's Mail. Looks like he might grab an Acrobike. I think that's the only thing he can really grab. I think it was like a supporter card. Not a supporter card, a Stadium, Dimension Valley, and a Shaman. I think that's what his 3 other cards were. But going to Training Mail for the Acrobike. The question is, will he play it right now? Yeah, he is going to play it. Looks like he's going to discard the Lysander, play not Time Puzzle, Town Map, and see what's all prized. And hey, there's a puzzle, Target Whistle, Trainer's Mail, Battle Presser, VS Seeker, and the discard pile. We'll see a Night March taking a knockout. He could just go for another VS Seeker, but looks like he is going to go for a Battle Presser. Alright, and let's see what James does. He's going to promote that Pumpkaboo, and let's see what happens. He has a Target Whistle. He could Target Whistle out that Shaman, and if he has a Lysander, he does... Well, he didn't discard... Well, I think there's one in discard pile. Yeah, there's a Lysander there, but he is going to go for the teammates regardless. Instead, man, I think I would just rather... Maybe Ultra Ball, try to dig out a DCE and take a knockout on a Shaman this turn. Just be, like, really aggressive. But I think we saw a DC and a... Puzzle Time going into his hand. Yeah, Puzzle Time and a DCE. He will Night March for the knockout, but if you get Night March knocking out a Shaman this turn, and then next turn you use Target Whistle to take the game, that would be pretty cool. But we see Ultra Ball getting out of Pumpkaboo, going to put that down onto the field, and James will take a knockout, going down to 3 prize cards. He still has to knock out the Shaman, which is not too bad. And let's see what James decides to do. Yep, DC to the active. And we'll see a Night March doing 20, 40, 60, 80. I'm pretty sure that's enough. Yeah, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon in the discard pile. And on a BJ's turn, he's going to promote that Pumpkaboo. There's a Battle Presser coming down, discarding a Lampent. And let's see what else he decides to discard. A Battle Presser. Yeah, that's pretty much useless. And maybe a Dimension Valley, that's pretty much not needed anymore. Looks like he is going to go for a Joltik. I think I would rather discard a Dimension Valley, like I said. Unless BJ's scared he plays like a Delinquent or something, and he can't tackle Pumpkaboos anymore. But I think you want to keep your Night Marchers in the deck so you have at least an attacker. And let's see what he decides to go for. He has a VS Seeker in his hand, and I imagine he will go for teammates. And with the teammates, I think you just grab a, a DC and a Pumpkaboo for the next turn, and then when you take a knockout, you can get a VS Seeker out of the prize cards, which seems okay. Looks like we're going to see a teammates. Let's see the 2 cards he decides to get. A Pumpkaboo. He could grab a Puzzle Time, and then when he takes a knockout, he can grab the other Puzzle Time out of his prize cards, which could be cool as well. And I'm not sure which 2 cards he grabbed, but there is a lot of options with this deck. And that's the cool thing about Night March. It might seem like a very simple deck to do, but I mean, I told you multiple things to do, and he does just grab 2 puzzles instead, or he has 2 puzzles in his hand. Looks like a DC, and then another DC will probably come out. If there's another one in the discard pile, it does not seem like there's another one in the discard pile. So he could just grab a VS Seeker straight up, putting that into his hand. I think that might be the best play right now. Let's see what he decides to go for. Looks like he's gonna go for a Trainer's Mail, huh? Man, I think I'd rather just go for a VS Seeker instead of Trainer's Mail. But we're gonna see a Night March taking a knockout, and BJ will take that VS Seeker out of his discard pile, out of the prize card, saying, "Hey, if you knock me out, I'm gonna use the teammate to search for 2 more cards." And on BJ's turn, James' turn. Let's see what happens. He does have a Target Whistle. Okay, he could Target Whistle, bring in a Shaman. I think using Target Whistle the last turn was probably the better play. And let's see what he does. Ultra Ball, discarding a Megaphone and Jirachi, most likely. Looks like we're going to see a Target Whistle and a Megaphone being discarded instead. I guess he wants to save his Jirachi just in case he does need to use Stardust. But we're going to see a Shebe coming on down. And let's see what James decides to do. Alright, so he needs a Shaman set up, draw 6 cards, and can he find a DC or not? But he has 2 puzzle times anyway. There's a DC and a Lysander. He will Lysander up that Shaman, most likely going down to 1 prize card and threaten the game the following turn. I do like this play a lot. Lysander up that Shaman, a Jirachi, Shaman setting up for 6. Alrighty. And this says, hey, BJ, if you pick up that Jirachi and that Shaman next turn, I'm gonna win regardless, because all I have to do is knock out one of your Night Marches, which is fine. And Acrobike, he's gonna immediately discard that Sycamore, put that VS Seeker in his hand, Battle Compressor, and he's just gonna thin his deck out just in case BJ does play a Judge to try to disrupt him. So he has more odds of drawing into what he needs. I think what he'll discard is some Dimension Valleys, maybe some useless cards. Maybe the Psychic Energy. Psychic Energy seems pretty useless. A Dimension Valley, a Town Map, and an Ultra Ball. I think I might keep the Ultra Ball because you get Ultra Ball for a Shaman. He's only played 1 so far. I think keeping the Ultra Ball in his deck would have been the better play. But, I mean, he's such in good position, it does not really matter. And we're going to see a Fighting Female going out to Joltik. And let's see what else. A Joltik coming down. And let's see a Night March for the knockout. Going down to 1 prize card. And on the BJ's turn, I'm not really sure what he could do. He needs to play a VS Seeker for a Judge. And hopefully he can disrupt his opponent. So yeah, we're going to see a VS Seeker for a Judge. But James only has maybe 10 to 15 cards left in his deck. Maybe even less than that. So hitting this DC is probably not going to be the hardest of things to do. And if he does move a DC, well, he did keep the Psychic Energy in the deck, so I guess he could start us if needed. Both players are going to draw 4 cards, and let's see what happens. I do see a Puzzle Time, and I think a VS Seeker in his hand as well, in James's hand. But let's see what BJ has. We'll see a Battle Compressor. Going to discard 3 cards out of his deck. Looks like 2 Dimension Valleys, and then maybe a Joltik. Maybe the Ultra Ball, if he has another Shaman in the deck. That might be okay to keep in there. But yeah, Joltik is fine as well. It looks like James is going to wrap this game up. I'm pretty sure I saw a VS Seeker in James' hand. And what he can do is Night March for the knockout, taking the game, and moving on to game number 2. And we'll see a Night March, taking the knockout. Here comes the Joltik almost immediately. And we'll see a VS Seeker for the teammates. Okay. And there we go. Alright, so on to game number 2. I think BJ started that Shaman is probably the worst thing that can happen. Just passing with that Shaman. If BJ would have retreated, he might have been in a better position. I don't know. It's weird for sure. But we're going to see both players setting up one more time on to game number 2. Now the question is, will BJ decide to go first or second? And I think he'll decide to go second. I think in the Night March mirror match, you want to go second. Because you want to take the first knockout on a Night Marcher. I think that's what you want to do. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what you want to do in this matchup. So you take the first knockout, you start winning the prize race, you take your prize cards quicker, and you should eventually just win because you took the first prize. So I think that's what the correct play is. I could be wrong. I'm not the best Night March player, I'm not going to lie to you, but both players are setting up. We'll see what BJ decides to do. Does he go first or second? And I mean, Night March, the most HP Pokemon is 110, which is Shaman, which is, not even that many Night Marches in the discard pile. So we'll see both players setting up, going to put out their 6 prize cards, and let's see what happens. There's the Handshake, and we see a Joltik, and James starts with the Shaman this time around. Alright, so on to James' turn. Let's see what happens. So he starts with the Shaman, and BJ starts with the Joltik this time. That's pretty funny. But we see a Trainer's Mail. James can look at top 4 cards of his deck. Can he retreat this Shaman? Oh, man, that's okay. We'll see a Battle Presser, and I do see a VS Seeker in his hand, so he can Battle Presser, discard like a Sycamore, 2 Lampets, and then, actually 3 Lampets, so he must, okay, he already had another Battle Presser in his hand. So, we're going to see Battle Presser, probably discard a Sycamore, a Teammates, and a Lysander. That seems like cool 3 cards. Teammates, Lysander, and a Sycamore. I couldn't argue with that. So there's a Lysander, and there's a Sycamore. So yeah, there's 3 cards coming on down. I do agree with that statement a lot. You could contemplate putting more Night Marches in the discard pile, but I think you're fine. We know BJ is probably not going to leave with a Night March in the active spot, and right now Night March is doing 60, which is a knockout, except for a Fighting Fear Belt, Jolt, Pumpkaboo, which can make things weird, but James does have the, what is it? He does have the Pumpkaboo in his hand. I mean, Lamp in his hand that he can VS Seeker away. We see a DC to the active. Sycamore. He already had a Sycamore in his hand. Oh, VS Seeker for Sycamore, I guess is what we saw. But there we see a Sycamore. Discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. There's a Joltik, a Pumpkaboo. There's a Pumpkaboo, an Ultra Ball as well. He's going to discard a Joltik and a Fighting Fury Belt, maybe? Oh, man. That's kind of weird. He could discard Puzzle Times or Fighting Fury Belt. I think what he's going to do is retreat. He's going to Ultra Ball probably for a Shaman and keep that in his hand. And then what he could do is retreat to a Pumpkaboo and just pass. Maybe put down 2 Pumpkaboos and just pass. And saying, hey, you can take a knockout this turn on Shaman, but you have to Lysander while also doing this. So we'll see a Pumpkaboo coming down. We'll see a Pumpkaboo and a Shaman setting up already. I don't know if I like the Shaman automatically setting up. But we'll see if it pays off and see what he's digging for. He does have another Ultra Ball, a Fighting Fury Belt on that Shaman. We see an Ultra Ball and a pass on a BJ's turn. Alright, so it looks like both Night Marchers are just fine with just passing with the Shaman in the active spot. Man, I don't know. I might have retreated. But we see a Battle Presser discarding Lampets. And probably 2 Lampets. Shaman does have 150 HP. Currently, it is 110, but then with the Fighting Fury Belt, 150. So they need, BJ needs, what, 7 Pokemon? No, like 4 Pokemon in this discard pile. I'm not sure. 5? Yeah, 5 Pokemon in this discard pile. Seems fine. So we see a team, Ultra Ball discarding Teammates and a Lampet. Grabbing the Pumpkaboo. Okay. And does BJ already have the DC in his hand? If he does, then he's A-okay. And let's see what BJ decides to do. Gonna give a good little shuffle. And can he find a DC take a knockout with the Shaman? I think 5 Pokemon in discard pile will be fine. Yeah, that should be perfectly fine. We see Sycamore going to discard something, an Ultra Ball and something else. And, oh man. It does not seem like BJ has a DC. We see a Joltik coming down. We see a Trainer's Mail. We see a Fighting Free Bell. And nothing else really. Oh man, is BJ going to whip this turn 1 knockout on the Shaman? And if he does, this will change the whole momentum of the game. Alright, so we see a Fighting Free Bell going to the active. And will we see just a pass? Oh, he has another Trainer's Mail. He gets search for an Ultra Ball. And there's a DCE in there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is not looking good for BJ. It looks like he's going to whiff the DC turn 1. There's a Puzzle of Time. Does he have another Puzzle of Time already in his hand? And if he does, he could Puzzle Time for a Ultra Ball to get out of Shaman. And let's see, does he have a Puzzle of Time in his hand or not? That's the big question. And looks like he does, though. If he does have double Puzzle of Time, he can search out an Ultra Ball and then maybe an Aggro Bike. Oh, a Shaman's already in his hand. 4, 5. And there's a Battle Presser, gun discard, a DCE, and if he has double Puzzle Time, he can actually search him out, which is a very, very cool trick. I do like this a lot. So double Puzzle Time is going to save BJ. He already had a Shaman in his hand, which I did not see. It looks like a DCE, Xerosic, and a Hex Maniac are being discarded. And what BJ could do is play double Puzzle Time, getting out a DCE, and if he has a VS Seeker in there, he can grab that as well. Looks like he might grab a Teammates. I think you need to get some kind of supporter card for the following turn. If he doesn't have a VS Seeker in his hand, I think getting the Teammates is probably the better option. But it looks like he is going to go for a target whistle, so that way when he takes a knockout on a Shaman, he can immediately bring it out of the discard pile. So we'll see a Night March doing, hopefully that's enough. I'm not sure how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 8, then plus the Muscle Man. Yeah, that's way more than enough. I don't know what I was thinking. 20, 40, 60, 80 times 2, 160. That's a knockout. I don't know why I said 5 earlier. I just did 100 times 2 in my head to take a knockout. But we see a Megaphone. Going to bump that Fighting Fury Belt, which is a very, very good thing for James, because now he can just Sky Return with Shaman, take a price card, and then promote a Pumpkaboo. But, I mean, BJ does have that Target Whistle in his hand to bring out a Shaman. Looks like we're going to see a Battle Presser, discarding Sycamore, a Dimension Valley, and maybe another Dimension Valley? Okay, a Battle Presser, that's fine. He does need to try to keep his Dimension Valleys in his deck. He hasn't played one down yet, so if he promotes a Pumpkaboo with no Dimension Valley, I don't think BJ is going to put down his Dimension Valley to help out James. So we see a Sycamore, going to discard his hand, draw 7 new cards. There's a Town Map, going to reveal his 6 prize cards. It looks like a Pumpkaboo, VS Seeker, Puzzle of Time, Ultra Ball, Joltik. We see a Joltik coming down, and we'll probably see a Sky Return sitting in a Pumpkaboo. That's what I would do. He does have a VS Seeker in his hand for the following turn. It looks like a Drachi will come down as well. And we're going to see a Sky Return knocking out the Joltik. And on the BJ's turn, I imagine he'll send up maybe the Joltik if he doesn't have the Dimension Valley in his hand. It looks like Puzzle Time will go into James' hand. So there's a Joltik coming up into the active spot. And they receive an Ultra Ball, going to discard a Lampets and a Pumpkaboo, maybe? Yep, Pumpkaboo coming into his hand. And let's see what BJ decides to do. Man, if only BJ had to use, like, Battle Presser, discard 2 DCEs, and then, like, got double puzzle, like, puzzle both of them into his hand, maybe he could, like, target Whistle and Lysander this turn? I don't know. Then he couldn't Target Whistle if he, I don't know. Alright, well, don't, just forget what I said. We see an Ultra Ball discarding 2 Night Marchers. We see a Target Whistle, going to bring out that Shaman EX, and let's see, can BJ take a knockout on the Shaman this turn? He does have VS Seeker in his hand. A Joltik comes down. And let's see, he does have a VS Seeker. Does he have a Lysander and a DC in his hand? Oh man, that'd be pretty crazy. But looks like we are going to see teammates. Now, the only thing I don't like about this play is, so BJ will take a knockout, but then James can just promote this Shaman and Sky Return unless BJ wants to waste a teammate to get a Fighting Fear Belt, saying, hey, you're not going to take a knockout. But we know that James just used his prize cards to get a Puzzle of Time out of the prize cards, or he used his Town Map to get a Puzzle Time out of the discard pile. So that might mean that James already has 2 Puzzle Times in his hand. We see a DC going to the active, and if he just Night Marches, then James can just Sky Return, kind of wasting that Target Whistle. So yeah, we'll see a Night March. He'll go down to 3 prize cards, but I mean, all James has to do now is just Sky Return with that Shaman, saying, hey, you're not going to take a knockout on my Shamans to take 2 prize cards. Oh man, I think that's what you do here. Yeah, you set up a Shaman, and then you Sky Return, taking a knockout. Oh man, that's kind of weird all of a sudden. So let's see Trainer's Mail. He could grab a VS Seeker. He has a DC in his hand, or DC. Yeah, he already has a DC in his hand, and he can't grab one anyway with the Trainer's Mail, so I don't know what I'm thinking. But let's see what he decides to get. I mean, I imagine it's going to be the VS Seeker. He literally can't grab anything else, I don't think. So VS Seeker going to his hand, and let's see what he decides to do. I mean, he's going to Sky Return, knock out this Joltik, and probably promote a Pumpkaboo. And let's see what happens. Does James decide to do that? And it looks like he is going to VS Seeker for teammates, going to search for 2 cards. And I think what he needs to do is somehow get ready for a Lysander. Because what he could do is he can Sky Return for 30, BJ would then take a knockout, then James can Lysander up a Shaman, take a knockout on it, and then he can then Target Whistle, bring out the last Shaman, take the last 2 prize cards. BJ is up on 3 prize cards, but James has the option or the capability to take 2 Shaman's knockouts back to back after this Sky Return. So let's see what he decides to get with his teammates. It looks like a Dimension Valley and then hopefully a Lysander. I didn't see what it was. Looks like a DCE maybe. But we're going to see a DC onto the Shaman. And let's see, I don't see the Lysander in his hand unless he already has one in the discard pile, and he's going to use a VS Seeker to get it out. I don't think you put down Dimension Valley. Looks like he is going to put it down though. But we see a Sky Return knocking out the Joltik. Going to promote that Pumpkaboo most likely. You don't want to sit in the Joltik because you don't want BJ to get a free Sky Return knockout. So I think promoting the Pumpkaboo is the best option. Let's see what he decides to do. Yeah, the Pumpkaboo coming up is the best option. And grabbing the Pumpkaboo out of this card pile, I do agree with that a lot. So on BJ's turn, let's see what happens. He needs to somehow pick up the Shaman. We see a DC attached to the active. We see a Lysander bring it up to Jirachi. And we're going to see a Night March taking a knockout. And I think this is actually great for James. Because now what James can do is promote the Pumpkaboo, attach a DCE, or whatever, Pumpkaboo or a Joltik, it doesn't really matter. Put a DCE and Lysander with that Shaman to take a knockout. The question is the Lysander in the discard pile? And it is in the discard pile. Going to bring up that Shaman EX, and he is going to put a DC on the active, and he's going to Night March, taking a knockout. Now the question is, can James find a Target Whistle and a Lysander for the following turn to take the game or not? Alright, so I imagine James will Night March for the knockout, taking the VS Seeker and then maybe the Ultra Ball to search out Shamans if BJ does judge you. And let's see what happens on to BJ's turn. He does have a Target Whistle. He has a Battle Compressor as well. He's going to discard 2 Dimension Valleys and then maybe a 3rd Dimension Valley. That seems great. Yeah, 3 Dimension Valleys is fine. I mean, they're pretty much useless now. Both players do play Dimension Valley and no other supporter cards. And let's see what BJ decides to do. I mean, he's going to Night March. He's going to Night March and take a knockout. But he needs to judge. If he can judge and put James at bad 4 cards, that could stick. And let's see what BJ decides to do. We're going to see a Night March taking a knockout. He's kind of risking saying, hey, I hope you don't have a Target Whistle in your hand. But let's see, does he have a Target Whistle and a Lysander? And there's a Target Whistle. Going to bring out that Shaman. DC to the active. We'll see that VS Seeker for the Lysander. And we will see the game. Oh, man, that was pretty crazy of a game. We saw James kind of make the comeback and take the win. Oh, man, so there we go. James takes the game 2-0 against BJ in this Night March mirror match. I do like both of these a lot. I mean, the James kind of proved what you do with Night March. You kind of save your Shamans by Sky Return them. I do think, like, BJ using that, the Target Whistle was kind of an interesting play when he didn't have the Lysander or the Knockout. But there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. I mean, obviously we know how strong Night March is, but there's the mirror match, and the mirror match comes down to who can take down more EX Pokemon, and in this case, it was James in both games. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. Alrighty, bye.